worst Captain America story ever is the hot book of the week.
Physical versus digital media. Where do you stand?
And which random 1970s reprint title features the first appearance of death in the Marvel Universe? Find out all these things and more on a new episode of Bronze and Modern God. Hello, Richard.
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm good. What was that? Hello, Richard. Holidays, crazy, running around. We're jamming this in here. We don't want to miss an episode. Let's get right to it. It's the hot book of the week. I don't want to talk about it.
I noticed. Steve Rogers, Captain America #1.
This odious, gross start of a totally misguided storyline that saw Captain America revealed as a Hydra agent is the hot book of the week for awful reasons. Have you heard this? There's speculation Chris Evans is returning to the MCU, but this time as a villain.
Why?
I don't know, but that's what's driving sales of this book. I've got it. It's when I stopped reading Cap again. I was like, nope. You have two Jewish co-creators of this character, and you're making their creation a Nazi.
Yeah. How did you react when that reveal came out?
I said, oh, cheap, real cheap. I want Nick Spencer wants to be in the news. Nick Spencer wants to make some buzz, and this is the cheapest way that he could think of doing it. Not a fan. Ed Brubaker, kind of did the same thing, bringing Bucky back, but it was well done and well crafted. Was this well done and well crafted? No. That's the argument people have. Well, read the whole story, John. You don't know. No. The fact that it just completely took a big giant steamer all over the legacy of its creators, not interested.
Yeah, that one panel where he says "Hail Hydra," and it's like,
oh, shocking.
Yeah. This is the antithesis of this character. You can't do that. You can make Spider-Man evil. That's fine, but Captain America is the bastion of great ideas, and to have him cheapened like that,
that was the whole point of the Captain America 1950s storyline, where they brought the 50s Cap back, and he was a racist and awful, but they let you know that it wasn't Cap. They were very clear about it. So Steve Englehart knew how to do it. Nick Spencer and whom I guess it was Tom Brevoort who okayed this. I'm guessing he was editing Captain America at the time. I hate this comic book. I hate that it's selling for $8 on eBay right now. I hate this comic book more than Rob Liefeld's Captain America #1. How about that?
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, I knowing the kind of Cap fan you are and how important Cap's ideals are to you, this is it's a cheap sellout.
Totally. Bereft of creative ideas. Which they're still out there. You can still write a good Cap story. We just saw Straczynski start off writing a really good Cap title. The first 6 issues were really good, and then it went off the rails. But I don't know. I'm sure you guys in the comments that will defend this run, go for it. I'm open-minded. I'm curious what you guys think. But if you want to go buy this, great. Make sure you have plenty of Lysol around you.
Sorry.
Someone wants some attention. Hey, does Tinkerballs have an opinion on the Nick Spencer run of Captain America?
He hates it. He uses it in his litter box.
Perfect. Good little Tinker. Let's go to the show and tell screen.
I've got Tinkerballs and fingers.
Oh, look at that face. Yeah, I need like a lozenge or something to get the taste of that horrible Captain America.
Mint.
Man, bring my Captain. This is Captain America. Just a reminder for everybody. Not that. Well, you are staring me down, Tink. House of Mystery issue. Gosh, 85. Recognize anybody?
Besides,
Journey into Mystery 83,
yeah.
the Stone Men of Saturn.
Mhm.
These are the Stone Sentinels of Giant Island by Jack Kirby. Yeah, Jack
They,
wasn't above. We're sorry. Go ahead.
oh, they look very organ-like. Let's just say.
He's saying it's a giant dickhead.
A little bit.
Uh, Kirby was not above recycling an idea or two. This is right before he went back over to Marvel, so I just thought it was an interesting take that he would reuse these giant stone men again in his Thor run.
Mhm.
There's a book for you. What do you got next?
My first book is just a little book I picked up called Black Cat Mysteries.
I'm not reacting to that.
This is I don't remember where I bought this. This is
What?
it's a reprint.
Of course, but
Yeah.
okay. Look at that. Where'd you
It's
get
a
that from?
reprint from it's a publishing company called um, Canton Street Press back in 2015. They reprinted this. It is, all the contents, including all of the ads are all in here. Um, it's pretty cool, and of course they got ads for other comics, and it's printed on. It really looks like it was printed on a color copier. To be
Yeah.
100% honest, it's a little glossy paper, but the art is nice and sharp. I mean, it looks good, and it's probably the only way I'm ever going to read these, the stories in this book, because I'll never even trash copies of this book are $8,000.
Why don't you tell everybody what it is on the podcast?
Oh, sorry. This is Black Cat Mysteries number 50. This is the cover, the famous radium cover, where the man is standing there. He's got a container of radium that he's dropping as his face is eaten away from radiation, and you can see his hand. You can see the bones on his hand. And it says, "Smoking horror radiates from white heat." Yeah, it's a pretty, you know, you talk people overuse the word iconic, but this is one of those covers that people recognize immediately.
Good old Lee Elias. What is going on with the guy picking up a radium rod and getting ready to eat it or smoke it or whatever? Is
I'm
there
assuming he didn't know.
okay?
That's why he was
You've read
tricked
this?
into it.
You've read the story?
I have not. I have not
Okay.
read it. That's a very good question. I will read it and report back.
All right. I still have attitude about Captain America. Sorry.
Do I
Uh,
can tell.
yeah. One thing will make me feel better. Two things always make me feel better. Some comedy and some eye candy. And this
Okay.
is one book where I get both of my favorite things together for the first time. It's the Three Stooges meets Hercules.
Oh,
Uh, by the way, not Curly.
that's not Curly.
No, that's Curly Joe Dorita. Boo! It's fake Curly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a Dell. I believe it's a 4-color issue, and you've got is that Steve Reeves? I don't think it's actually Steve Reeves, but it's Hercules choking Larry with a chain, and he's got Curly Joe, Dorita, and Mo in a headlock.
Yeah, talking to people of our generation, we grew up on the Three Stooges. Although the Three Stooges were so violent, my mom limited the amount that she would let me watch, because hitting people over the head with irons and poking them in the eyes apparently was too much violence.
I was lucky. I had a dad that loved the Three Stooges, so I got to see all the Three Stooges I wanted, and I even have the Blu-ray here of the complete Three Stooges. As soon as I buy the Blu-ray for the complete Three Stooges, they launch a YouTube streaming channel with everything in HD.
That's okay. We're going to talk about ownership of physical media, and I think that's an important idea.
Yep. What's your next show and tell book?
Next book. This is a weird one. Again, I was digging in my collection, just like the Black Cat one, and I came across this book. This is Babe #1.
Sorry, I had to let a cat out as
Oh,
well. John Byrne, trying to recapture some of that She-Hulk magic on his own.
yeah. Not so much. I mean,
Mhm.
some of the artwork in here, it's obviously John Byrne. He did the writing and the art for this book. Uh, and it is very, very obvious. The art is definitely him. Um, not sure exactly who inked it because it's a very simplistic inking job.
Probably himself. He got to that point where he didn't like other people inking him, and that looks like his lettering, his computer lettering that he used. So I bet you he did the whole thing.
1995. I was not. We got. He's trying really hard for that Phoenix
Mhm.
She-Hulk magic that he had. The Black Queen kind of stuff. Um, for art, if you're a Byrne fan, it's full of great art that you probably will never see anywhere else. Because I doubt this is ever going to be reprinted. But yeah, I must have gotten this as a part of a collection because I have, as I was digging through, and I was thinking, wow, this is pretty cool. I haven't seen this particular book before.
Is that the only issue you have? I believe it's 4-issue miniseries.
Yep,
Three.
4-issue miniseries. This is the only issue that I have.
Oh wow. Yeah. That I believe the colorist on that cover, a guy, I believe it's Matt Webb was his
Mhm.
name, and he was coloring a lot of Burns stuff at the time on the covers, and it was so over
Oh,
rendered.
it is terrible for the listening on the podcast. It's the famous painting of Venus, where you've got the woman naked, and she's holding her hands over her privates. But yeah, it's John Byrne must have drawn it, but the coloring is so overbearing, you don't recognize any of the tells that it's a John Byrne piece of art. I wouldn't have known if it hadn't. Um,
Looks like an airbrushed painting on the side of a Love minivan from the 70s.
yeah, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. It makes you appreciate his clean lines when you look at the art, interior art. It's all nice and clean lines, and the coloring is a little overbearing as well, but not. It doesn't overwhelm the art itself. So
I
definitely,
see
like I said, good book if you're looking for unique John Byrne art.
I see that on the side of a van in the 70s. On the other side of the van is like a recreation of Molly Hatchet's Flirting with Disaster album cover.
uh,
Thor Blood Oath miniseries, issue 3. More Hercules headlocks. I did this because Scott Collins drew this, and I don't think Scott Collins gets enough credit for being just a fantastic artist. He has just been bopping around for a couple decades. A memorable run on Flash,
mhm.
I think, was probably what he's most well known for, but just really good stuff. I mean, I have a Hercules sketch from him on the wall, on my original art wall. He just did really cool looking stuff. And
Nice.
I
What,
don't know. Yeah,
what was
sorry.
that published?
This is about 2005.
Okay.
I just don't think he gets enough credit. I like his stuff. So, Scott Collins, if you're out there, good job, my friend. Keep it up. Any Scott Collins fans out there? I hope I got the name right. Scott Collins, right? Yeah, Scott Collins. And written by Michael Avon Emming. There you go. This little obscure Thor miniseries with the old logo. I love that old Thor logo. What is your final show and tell book?
My last book is I have to cheat
Uh-oh.
because I don't remember the issue number. This is we've been talking about Stadium Comics and some of the exclusives that they've had with Archie Comics, and here we've got one. I've shown this one once before, but I came across it again and it really stood out. This is, you got Betty and Veronica wearing matching bikinis with that negative space concept where the bikinis blend into the fuchsia. What color would you call that?
Yeah, there you go. It's a fuchsia.
Yeah, background. Dan Parent's art is always good, and this was a limited edition. I mean, you can only get it from their website. And limited to 250. It's Betty and Veronica Friends Forever Spring Break #1 collector's edition.
Wow. 2021. You
Mhm.
guys want to see me ruin Betty and Veronica for Richard and everyone else?
Oh, God, no.
They're underage.
No. I guess they were in high school, weren't they?
Yes.
But they got married later. And right? I mean, they got married.
To each other? Do you have that cover?
No. Veronica
Sorry,
and
I
Archie
just
got married.
ruined Betty and Veronica for everybody. It's a better time than ever to tell you to support the show. If you want me to ruin more stuff for you. $2.99 a month. You get exclusive Wednesday bonus show and tell episodes and some chat there, and a big long chat on our Thursday live stream. Richard, we want to give a shout out to Brett for subbing for you on
Thank you
Thursday.
so much, Brett. I appreciate it. It was well timed, good timing. Your availability. I had to go pick my son up at college, so I was unavailable. So thank you so much for filling in.
And let's give shout outs to these people who are members. You can see your name here. Just hit the join button next to subscribe here on YouTube, or click the link and the description on your favorite podcast platform. My coffee is not kicking in, Richard, so you take the first piece of viewer mail.
You've got mail.
My first piece of viewer mail is from Rich Chapel. Rich says, I bought my copy of Marvel Premiere 15 a few months ago. To date, that's the most I paid for a single comic book at $250.
Richard. Man. Richard.
For me, it was part of a larger effort to track down first appearances of all the Marvel Netflix characters. I'm surprised at how many comic characters they used, at least 50. A side quest from that mission has me trying to buy every issue of every Iron Fist title. Wow. I am surprisingly close. Of course, Iron Fist from 1975, number 14, will be the one that holds me up for a while.
First Sabretooth, if you don't know that.
Sabretooth, yeah. If $250 is your budget, yeah, it might be a while, but you never know. You never know when you come across that right opportunity to buy books. I admire your cap in terms of what you're willing to spend. The hobby kind of got out of control for me around 2020, 2021 in terms of how much money I was spending. That definitely has changed here in this past year. Just excuse me, just because of the way the market has been. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I totally support people handling it more on a more reasonable price basis. So thank you for your comment.
I like Richard Chapel. I like your goal of getting the first appearance of every character that was in the Netflix series. Richard Chapel, do you know the Purple Man from Jessica Jones was in Daredevil #4? That may be a tough one for you as well. If
that
you
might get a little pricey.
Yeah, that one's going to be a little pricey too if you get a nice copy. But that's a cool little quest there. Good luck with that. My first piece of viewer mail comes to us from our email at bronzeandmoderngods@gmail.com from John Kasdorf. I enjoy watching every episode and always learn something worthwhile. Plus, you guys have more on-screen buddy chemistry than Chemical Lad, and Chemestro. Look them up, put together. Chemestro from Power Man. I know who that is, John Kasdorf. I noticed in your reviews that you both seem to pay pretty close attention to graphic design elements on comic covers, including the logo and typography/trade dress. You appreciate the good and recognize the lousy or lackluster. John, I believe in the past you've mentioned that you worked in design or in some design-adjacent marketing role. I love to watch you discuss the current state trends of comic book typography. In my opinion, many modern books have uninspired masthead and logo typography. It often looks like they don't actually design the logo, but rather just pick a neat new font. John, I can stop reading your email right there and tell you that's exactly what's happening, but we'll go on. They're often overly minimalist, geometric, and recessive to the overall cover. In an effort to make the logo look cool, they create something cold, flat, and lifeless. At least that's how much it feels to this old fart. For example, it's disappointing to me how many of the Marvel X books use the same logo, format, and style, only changing the title. Where's the fun in that? And how does it help readers keep track of the books they enjoy or what new books to look for? What do you think their intent is other than saving time and money on design across the portfolio? John, I can stop your email there and tell you you were correct. I realize this kind of in-depth discussion would not fit within a regular weekly episode. Maybe it's a special bonus episode. Thanks for creating and sustaining a great show with engaging conversations. Here's wishing your holiday season is a 9.8 with no banana bends, unless you're into that sort of thing. Regards, John Castro. John, I love this email.
Yeah,
You're right. It's simple. Grab a font, slap it up there. It actually started in the 90s with some of these computer fonts. X-Men's a great example. Somewhere along the line, they scanned that classic Steranko designed X-Men logo, and they've decided now with the Brevoort relaunch to use it on everything. I don't know why. The days of a very elegant Todd Klein designed logo by hand, those are over. What editor is going to pay someone, $500 to $1,000 to design a logo these days? They're just not. It's
I don't know why they don't, crowdsource it. The audience is out there, and in that audience are people who have talent. If you give them an opportunity to showcase their love for a particular title by providing a decent trade dress,
there's no font that looks like that old Thor logo.
Right.
I believe that's Artie Semic, by hand drawing it, doing those notches, and even I think Gaspar or Irish Schaff on the DC end would do these really cool DC logos in the Silver Age. You're just not going to have that anymore, and it's sad, and it does bug me.
You're right, and I think it is monetary. The editors just don't want to pay for someone to come up with a consistent and attractive logo that's going to work on all different kinds of covers and different backgrounds. And it takes effort. I mean, designing a trade dress that is, like I said, going to stand the test of time over a series takes money to do. And if you're not willing to do it, then you're going to pay the guy to hit random font in Illustrator to come up with something that at least says X-Men.
Yeah, John, you're right. I spent my life in marketing. I was not a creative director. I was not a graphic designer, but I've worked side by side with some of the greatest creative directors in the industry. And if you don't learn from osmosis after years, then you're really bad at your job. So I've learned, like, for example, this was drawn by hand. Is it exciting? No. But then somebody had the idea at Marvel to curve it, to give it that curve, and they redrew it, and you have that classic curved Captain America logo that they still use every now and then. So yeah, great email. Thank you for that. Yeah, what is your next?
My next piece of your mail is from our buddy Vexer. And we're talking about physical. I went on a rant about physical media.
Wait, on this show? Someone went on a rant?
Yeah, that's surprising. And Vexer says, always buy and keep your physical media. I still buy Blu-rays. Learned that lesson from George Lucas and his special editions. Absolutely.
Handshot first.
Any Star Wars fan knows exactly what that means. I buy physical copies of video games so I'll be able to play them if Sony decides to shut a server down. Can't do much for the DLCs though. Going all digital obviously saves space, but nothing beats having the thing in your hand. Well, that's true. You're absolutely right there. But no, I mean, seriously, we have been, over the past, I want to say 15, 20 years, have been trained that streaming media, digital products are easier. They give you more variety. They cost less, at least initially. than the physical media. Buying the physical media for games, for movies, for music. I can't tell you the last time I bought a album.
Hmm.
I used to hang out at the FYEs of this of the world back in the day, and leafing through CDs and vinyl. That's all gone for the most part. Video games, the same thing. Video games, you used to have midnight releases where you show up at the store and you'd be in line with 50 other crazy people, and to get that latest copy of whichever game it happened to be. Was it a World of Warcraft expansion or whatever it happened to be? The only way to get it was to stand in line. Well, it was digital. You could just buy it, pre-order it, load it, and play it immediately when it became available. And it's happened to all different forms of media. We've been trained that the digital form is easier. But like Vexer says, there have been a number of games where the studio has just decided we are no longer supporting this online game. And since the only copy you have is this digital copy, when we turn the servers off, you lose access to that. You're not done. You may not be done playing the game, but because of the studio, you no longer have access to it. So, switching back to comics, if comics are available in digital form, and it is a convenience for a lot of things, but you buy that Marvel Unlimited subscription and have access to all those comics, and Marvel could stop that service at some point, and you lose access to all that. So physical copies of things, comic books in this instance, um, are the superior long-term play. It may cost you more. You may spend $250 on a particular comic because you want that particular issue and it has a value. Um, but no one's going to be able to take it away from you. They're not going to be able to just in 3 weeks decide, nope, we're not going to offer this service anymore, and stop providing that. So as far as collecting goes in the hobby, I think it's going to be sustained because people want that physical media and want to have that kind of long-term access.
I get frustrated with some digital comics of classic issues because they've got it there. They're scanning it. They're creating high-res scans for omnibuses and trade
Right.
paperbacks and things like that. Why not go ahead and scan the letters page? Why not go
Right.
ahead and scan the house ads? You don't, I understand the legalities around scanning, like, the old Pepsi ads or things like that. Fine, leave those out. But the editorial pages are part of the book. Why are you not scanning and including those in those digital editions? Especially um, if you're making facsimiles, you already have the scans. It doesn't seem to stop them from doing the facsimiles with the original ads.
Good point.
So I don't. It just a little thing that just bugs me. Yeah, keep your physical stuff, please, especially vinyl. I got a side hustle, you guys. I help artists digitize their catalog. Can you believe how much stuff is still not digitized out there? Like major artist stuff that is not available on streaming. Moving on, from Thor NGM, Thorn MGM. Hello, Richard and John. I was listening to your YouTube video from a couple weeks ago while going through an auction lot of comics, and I won and picked up earlier today while you were discussing the TSR 80 comic. I came across this Superman and Wonder Woman comic featuring the TRS 80 computer whiz kids and thought, wow, what are the odds? Happy holidays, Thorn and GM. Look, there's Superman, Wonder Woman. It's not a TRS 80. I guess it is. Is that what model is that?
That is a Model 1.
Okay.
TRS 80 Model 1. Yeah.
Why do they call that a Model 1? Because the other one was an all big self-contained unit with a green LCD or green
Mhm.
screen.
That
What
was a
was it?
Model 3. Model 3 had the green screen. Model 4 had the white screen and the all big case. The Model 2 was a business computer that people really never saw. And then there was the color computers and all the different variations of the color computers. And then the Tandy 1000, which was the IBM compatible. And then it goes on and on.
So the Model 1 was worse than the Model 3?
It was an older computer. Yes, the Model 1 was the first. My friend Dave, if you're watching, which I know you do, he had one of those Model 1s, and we used to play. I used to go over his house, and we'd play video games on it. It was a lot of fun. And the
You got to
Model
hook it up to
3
your own
came.
monitor.
Pardon?
You got to hook it up to your own monitor. That's what's happening there in that picture.
No, that actually is a monitor that is sold with the unit.
Oh,
It came with the computer and then the monitor behind it. And then, unless that's a color computer,
I'm
looking
thinking
at
that's a
it,
color to TRS-80. Yeah,
yeah, it's hard
because
to tell from the little thing. The color computer, you did have one of those VHF converters that you hooked up to a TV, and you have that tape deck. Tape decks were so much fun. Before floppy disks, before CD-ROMs, you had audio tape, and nothing ever goes wrong with analog audio tapes.
uh, the VHF converters, by the way, the bane of my existence, because the TI 99.4A, the Atari 2600, you name it, hooked up to the back of the TV, and if I did not remember to switch it back, boy, did I hear about it. I want to watch TV. Why can't I watch it? Go back and then flip the switch. Richard, what is your next piece of viewer mail?
Memories.
Yes.
My next piece sounds like an industrial band, Revolt Puppy. Revolt Puppy says, superhero fans are way too quick to trash artists who don't stick close to the house style.
Richard.
Kirby, Sienkiewicz, and J.R. Jr. are modern masters, and we're lucky they weren't boxed in by popular conventions. People will remember them for pushing boundaries, but also because you can see the sheer love they had for the medium. I agree with you. I Kirby, Sienkiewicz, JR, they are modern masters, but art is also something that's very subjective, and people have different tastes. My taste says some of the stuff that Sienkiewicz does, I don't care for. I also don't care for everything Jackson Pollock does, or everything that Pablo Picasso does. But I can recognize them as being masters and paragons of the art form. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. We are lucky to have those types of people, because if you have the people who just toe the line and follow along with the standards that they're given by the editors, there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't really advance the medium. And that's the thing that Kirby did. Kirby broke some of those conventions to advance the medium. So for artists, absolutely. But you got to remember, it is a subjective thing. And some people, no matter how influential that particular artist, some people just won't like it. And that's fine, because everyone's entitled to their particular opinions.
I knew a guy who did not like Alex Toth.
Really?
How could you not like Alex Toth? So, there's something for everybody, I guess. There's room for everyone, including Brett Sobleski, who writes, I couldn't help but write and discuss a recent personal triumph that actually dealt with multiple show topics. Number one, to John, you asked about my favorite version of the Falcon. Definitely red and white suit. The Secret Wars toy was my introduction to the character. Yeah, I love that the Falcon got a figure in Secret Wars. Number two, as for those worrying about downsizing and using eBay, take the leap. I've recently started myself and was able to sell enough to land a grail in multiple keys. Number three, I began winning a few local auctions that included a really low grade Space Ghost #1, seen here, and a 1959 Archie Innuendo cover. Both sold within 12 hours of posting them on eBay. By taking my profits and not spending a cent beyond that number, I was able to finally buy a copy of Conan the Barbarian #1 and Captain America 118, the second appearance of the Falcon. They're lower grade, but I essentially got them for free. As someone who doesn't like to spend a lot on individual books, $100 is my typical barrier, and even that is rare. This reinvigorated how I approach my collecting. Let your collection work for you. Amen, Brent. Good job, Brent. Great grabs. Excellent stuff. I'm on eBay again. I had my first hiccup last week.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm moving on. We're going to move on past the hiccup. You know, you just get some people that are just they'll never be no good, as my grandma used to say.
There,
Double negative.
I mean, John, you and I have done enough live sales in the past to know that there is a certain personality type that is difficult to deal with when you are doing sales and you're doing customer service. And you just got to push past it. You deal with them politely
Mhm.
and you move forward.
And just some of the excuses, you know, after someone makes a claim, I didn't know I already had this in my collection. Yeah, but you claimed various different books from various different genres. You didn't know you had all of them in your collection already. I'm an old fart, Richard.
Yes, you are.
That is a time and a place to transition to the old fart rule. It's yours. Take it away.
Oh yeah, we've talked recently about Tara from the Teen Titans. We want to talk about how she met her demise, and this is the death of Tara, which is a part of the Judas Contract story arc. In this case, this story takes place in the Tales of Teen Titans annual number 3. And Tara has been revealed to be a traitor planted by Slade, Deathstroke. Um, and it was, I remember reading this. I was on edge of my seat this entire story arc, um, because you wanted to find out what happened. You know, it was a love interest between Changeling, Beast Boy, for those who watch the animated shows, and Tara, and he was so smitten by her, and you found out there was she was really just this person who hated all of the Titans, hated everyone. She hated Slade actually in the end, and that's how she ended up um, meeting her demise. Her powers, she lost control of her powers, brought the mountain down on top of her, and she met her end that way. And it's this whole story was so sad and so impactful to young me who was reading this at the time. And you know, I thought everybody dies. You know, she's dead, she's gone. She's, of course not. This is comics. She did come back in a variety of different stories. We saw her as a part of the Teen Titans animated series. She had a story arc there with Changeling / Beast Boy, which that animated series, both of them, both the Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go, are excellent. If you haven't watched them, do yourself a favor and watch it. But she, you know, she's been this character. She's been this tragic character through DC Universe that people have pulled upon here and there in the history of DC Comics. Just a great character in because of that vulnerability and the tragedy that surrounds her. The very complex type of character. This book you can find on eBay. CGC 9.8s go for around $83 was the last sale. Newsstands go for a little bit more at $150. So it's not necessarily an expensive book, but this is Tara again is one of those characters that I see being used when you need that kind of emotional foil. She is, because a lot of people know her backstory. So when she came in the Titans cartoon, you are already primed and knowing how it was going to end. And but anyway, so it's an easy book to get, and it falls into a reasonable price range. I recommend picking it up. If you haven't read it, there is a facsimile. Pick up the facsimile and read it if you don't want to buy the original. It's a great story.
There's a Canadian price variant of this book too, Richard. You ever see that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a CPV, as they say, which
Mhm.
sounds like some disease you pick up after a night in Amsterdam. Moving on to our underrated books of the week. I'll start off with first issue of a series that begins with issue 9. What do I mean?
Of course, of course.
I mean War is Hell, issue number 9 from Marvel Comics. Now, War is Hell started with issue number 1, it was a reprint title that started by reprinting old Atlas War stories. And then after a few issues, it pivoted to reprinting old Sergeant Fury stories. Because if there's one thing we know about Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos as a series, it dealt with the horrors of war and how awful it was. Sergeant Fury was such a
Oh yeah.
wahoo, war is fun. Let's go shoot some Nazis. So that was kind of weird that was in a title called War is Hell. But with issue 9, they started new material. And this was the first issue of a new series that featured a character named John Kowalski, who was a disgraced Marine who is supernaturally forced to live the life of war over and over again throughout eternity by possessing the bodies of other soldiers. Really kind of a cool concept. And you look at this and you go, oh, Marvel noticed that DC is having some success with weird war tales. How can we kind of copy and draft off some of that? And here you are. We'll take this reprint title and we'll make it about supernatural and horror and war. But the most notable thing about this book for collectors is that this is, for some reason, considered the first appearance of death in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Now, I say that's debatable because I think the reason why people consider this the first appearance of death is because she's wearing the purple robes that Jim Starlin always used when he would draw death, talking with Thanos. So I don't know if Jim Starlin saw this book and thought, okay, that's death in the MCU. I'll draw her like that. Death in War is Hell was an active participant. She would always send John Kowalski into his new persona, his new body. I believe she never spoke, though. But the most interesting thing about War is Hell, it ran, this John Kowalski led series ran for 7 issues, from 9 through 15. Am I doing my math right? Yes, 7 issues. It was written by Chris Claremont.
Oh, wow.
He would bring John Kowalski back in his Man-Thing run later on in the 80s. I have a copy of number 9. It's nice. This book is bucking the overall trend of downward pricing right now. A CGC 9.8 sold last month for an all-time high of $1,092, almost double of what it sold for at the height of the comic boom in 2022.
Wow.
Who out there is buying high-grade 9.8s of War is Hell number 9 besides John?
Well, apparently there is at least one other person.
It is a tough book at 9.8. Mine's a 9.4. Haven't quite been able to score a 9.8 yet. And it's a cool little series. It's a little curio of 1970s Marvel. You've got Chris Claremont and Don Perlin doing most of the run. And then for the last 2 issues, I believe Herb Trimpe comes on, and it really starts to take off artistically because Herb Trimpe's inking himself and he's really letting loose. And then it got canceled. So, that's how it always goes. They get a good team going and pull it out from under them.
When did Claremont start writing for Marvel?
1973, 72, 73. He was always like a guest scripter on things like Daredevil. He would do fill-ins and things like that. I want to say War is Hell was his first ongoing series that he wrote on his own. Actually started, created and plotted by Tony Isabella in issue 9.
Oh, wow.
But scripted by Claremont, and then Claremont took it over. Someone out there will correct me if I'm wrong, if this is not Claremont's first ongoing, but he had plenty of one-shot stuff before that, like Satana. He did a lot of work in the Marvel Black and White comics, the magazines. So yeah, early Chris Claremont.
That's
Take
awesome.
that and get it signed after standing in line for 4 hours, Richard.
I'm sure he would.
What is your underrated book of the week?
My underrated book this week is a book that I picked, probably about 2 years ago. The reason why I'm picking it again is because I just recently picked it up to read again, and I just find it a fascinating book. It's called Sara by TKO Studios back in 2018. For those who are on the podcast, the cover of this book has a female Russian sniper holding a sniper rifle. Her name, obviously, is Sara. This is Garth Ennis and Steve Epting doing the writing, and then there's a number of artists on this title. Elizabeth Breitweiser, Rob Steen.
Epting's actually an artist too. He drew Captain America on
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, on that Brubaker run that I raved about earlier.
This book is by TKO Studios, who specializes in graphic novels. So this book it's square bound. It's not not a comic per se, but more like a graphic novel. But it has 6 issues. It has been um, reprinted in a hardcover book if you're interested in getting the whole series. And the story is about World War II, a female sniper, and the unit that she's assigned to, and you get to see kind of the behind the scenes story. I don't know if World War II buffs know about the Russian snipers and how the Russian army used women in sniper roles and a number of different roles during the Second World War. But you get to see kind of the day-to-day life of a woman, woman sniper. She's a combatant. They die in the process of doing their work, and you get to see them in the midst of combat. You get to see them when they're dealing with the male-controlled Russian army, and it's an interesting view of um, a female combatant in the Second World War, and it comes to a definite end at the end of the 6 issues. But it was one of those books that the journey was well worth the time it took to read. So if you have an opportunity, you can go to TKO's website and buy copies there, which is probably the one of the easier ways. Or if you want to suss them out at eBay, you can find them on eBay as well. But definitely a great series to read. One of those books that like I said, I am rereading now because I just find it compelling.
Garth Ennis and Steve Epting, you cannot go wrong. And you can't go wrong if you are a member and join us on Wednesday and Thursday. Otherwise, don't go wrong. Come back and see us next Monday. Clumsy.
Oh,
they're not all winners, people. We'll see you then.
Everybody, stay safe.